and get a $300 instant gift. Good towards pillows and more.
Gotta stay fresh, my house shot with a rest spot, shot with a rest spot, shot with a rest spot.
Have you visited us online for the grand opening of KBLA.store? For the best in new merch, gift ideas, books, media, and more, log on to KBLA.store. Be sure to check out our KBLA team favorites at KBLA.store today. That's KBLA.store for all the official merch on your favorite talk radio station, KBLA Talk 1580.
The bounce is back.
Locked in to hour 2 of RSVP with Jill Munroe. Of course, it is Michael Jackson's birthday. So, come on, Captain EO soundtrack. Listen, this is my joint. You know, I can't sing, but I try. I'll make attempt. Thank you for rocking with RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. This is the show where we hit all the trending topics and headlines across entertainment, sports, lifestyle, and culture. It is hour 2, and we have a guest. Our guest for hour 2 is a singer, a songwriter, a Grammy-nominated songwriter. His extensive time in the music industry, comes from a musical family. There is, as I shared, a Michael Jackson connection that we're going to get into. And there's also proof of that on Instagram. You're going to go there in a second. Welcome to RSVP with Jill Munroe, Mr. Bobby Newt.
Hey. Can you hear me?
We can hear you now. So welcome. So, Bobby, you are a singer-songwriter, child star. Like, you actually started out in the music industry when you were a small child in the Bay Area.
Bay Area stand up.
And your father is well known. Your brother, Jay Valentine. Yes. If you have checked out the R&B Money podcast, Jay Valentine is Tank's business partner and manager. And Bobby's younger brother, they were in a group back in the day that was signed to MCA Records called the Neutrons. This was during the time when it was like the Neutrons were on MCA, Jodeci, New Edition, Bobby Brown. You guys were stacked over there going through it. And so...
don't forget Father MC.
Father MC, treat them like they want to be treated. You know, the early 90s. You guys also worked with the Jackson family. Joe Jackson discovered and managed you. You actually spent time at the Encino...
The Havenhurst house.
The Havenhurst house,
yes.
The OG Michael Jackson house. And if you go to his Instagram, what is it, Bobby Newt 74?
Bobby Newt 74.
Bobby Newt 74. There's a picture of him, Janet, LaToya, and his brothers Ronnie and Jay back in the day with the Jackson, with Michael. Is it just Michael in that one, or is it?
Yeah, of the brothers, yes.
Of the brothers, yeah.
Brothers, and then, obviously, like you said, Janet and LaToya.
Janet and LaToya. And so, like, they have pictures all over the house. It's really crazy. But welcome to the show, Bobby. We are so excited to have you and to get into your backstory. So, did you always want to sing? How did that start?
Well, thank you so much for having me first. Yeah, I mean, it really just, it kind of was a pastime of me and my dad's. I don't know if you guys remember those old Cadillacs that had the thing in the middle in the front seat.
What thing?
You know, kids didn't, the little hump, like where
the
you sit.
Armrest?
The little, well, I don't know if it was an armrest or a little, but that's where I used to sit. And
no seatbelt.
No
safety
seatbelt.
laws,
No
regulations.
No, there was no regulations, no seatbelts, obviously. And I literally would try to sing all my dad's all his favorite pimp songs. And
So let's give you a little backstory with that. So Bobby's father is a man named Ron Newt. Ron Newt is, I don't even know how to break down who Ron Newt is. Ron Newt is a classic.
Yes. One of a kind.
One of a kind. If, Ron Newt has a very popular and famous Vlad TV interview.
Yes, he does.
Where he talked about where the National Enquirer tried to bribe you guys and get you to lie and say that because you spent time at Michael's house and spent time with Michael Jackson, they tried to get you to lie and say that Michael touched you for money.
Yes.
They offered you money.
Yes.
Your dad talked about that. He talked about how he got you guys a deal and connected with Joe Jackson and many other things. He was, he was a Mac. That's the nice way to put it. He definitely, had a stable.
17 deep with no sleep.
17 deep with no sleep. He had a stable, and I'm not like being facetious in saying this. I'm not using cute metaphors. I'm being literal in this. And so you grew up pretty rough when you think about that. Like, there's a lot of love. You have a big family, a close family, but you did come from a situation that involved pimping, seeing things that children shouldn't see.
Absolutely.
Drug use and so forth. So
drug use, drug dealing, every kind of crime you could think of. We got a taste of it all.
So coming from that environment, how did
as
you
well as
it
was the kind of the late 70s going into the 80s when crack hit. So as well as
the crack epidemic.
Watching it wreck my whole family, my family, my mother, my father. I mean, it was nuts.
So we were having a conversation last hour about environment and how that impacts kids and the choices that make. And so what I said was we were talking about the crime bill that happened in 1994 and the circumstances surrounding it, how there was a lot of, reckless stuff happening in the streets and people were asking for a solution. They were asking for help for the criminal element. Mm-hmm. And so one of our faithful listeners, Fahima, she's in DC, she's also an educator, was saying that she feels that when we're talking about youth, and it's absolutely the truth, but I don't subscribe to that, it covers everything, that their environment is what causes them to dive into these criminal elements and to make these type of choices, which is true for some, but there are also some like you that didn't necessarily make those choices, or if you got involved in some of those things, didn't stay. So talk a little bit about your upbringing and how you managed to, swerve and dot those pitfalls.
I've had conversations about what you said, Fahima was saying, and I totally agree with her. I mean, I think some people are the what's the word I'm looking for? They're the kind of the ones that get out, or they
the exception to the rule.
The exception, yes. But for most, it dictates who you become, your environment, for sure. Because, like, they talk about the kids in Chicago and how they're killing and shooting and killing each other out there. But if you ever watch the Chirac documentary, you'll see that they have no other choice. You know what I mean? Because if you don't arm yourself, you could become a sacrificial lamb out there. You know what I mean? So, and not just to mention, if we go back far enough with the welfare system and them taking dads out of the houses, and I mean just all the different things that kind of put us
systematically into those things.
Put us where we are. And then even like the young guys from LA, where they started hooking up with the gang members or the OG gang dudes because they didn't have a dad. And that dude was what they looked up to because their situations were so dire that dude was the hood star. Like, he, I want to have what he has. He's got the car with the, the Daytons and the rims and, you know what I'm saying? He's got all the freshest clothes. Like, that's what they had to look up to. You know what I mean? So when I see that, it really angers me because some people will say everybody has the same opportunities. And that couldn't be further from the truth.
Well, when we come forward, we'll talk more with Bobby Newt about his career, about his journey. We'll also talk a little bit about Billy Porter and why he says he was kicked out of mainstream R&B. And we'll get into a little bit of Cardi B. All that and more. You're locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
RSVP with Jill Munroe is your go-to show for staying in the know. More engaging conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
For all of us, this generation and the next, there is simply no place in our lives for litter. And yet, it's everywhere we look. And unfortunately, it does belong to all of us. So, let's come together and create a litter-free, clean California, once and for all. Remember to properly dispose of your trash and recycling. Secure truckloads with tarps to keep debris from flying out. Clean out your car when you're at a gas station. Take pride in your community by organizing a cleanup event. Or join a cleanup event near you. Zero litter is the goal. Join us at cleanca.com. That's cleanca.com. Let's do it together. Brought to you by Caltrans. cleanca.com.
You're listening to K-Drip, where we play all the best classic water-wasting hits like Sprinklers in the Rain and Leaky Faucets. They're tunes from another time because now that we face a hotter, drier future, every drop counts. Despite an extremely wet winter, keep using less water, fixing leaks, and reusing indoor water for your garden. Visit SaveOurWater.com for more ways to conserve. Up next, brushing your teeth with the water on.
K-Drip. KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. South Central Youth Empowered Through Action is the youth component of the impactful CBO, known as the Community Coalition. South Central Youth Empowered Through Action has chapters at almost every South LA high school. Say Yeah, as they are popularly known, is located at 80th and Vermont, but serves young people all over South LA. Under the COCO umbrella, they train youth organizers, help underserved scholars prepare for college, and work with students to help them gain admission to top universities. South Central Youth Empowered Through Action fosters teen activism, where young people have led campaigns moving tens of millions of dollars to South LA schools and forcing officials to make AP classes available to students in under-resourced institutions. SCES scholars have taken part in the March on Washington, been published in major news outlets, and been elected to city council. Long before she was mayor, Karen Bass started the program when she founded the Community Coalition. To donate, volunteer, or enroll a student in South Central Youth Empowered Through Action, please visit cocsouthla.org. cocsouthla.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Keeping you informed, entertained, and always ahead of the curve. This is RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
We're locked in to RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. We have a guest in studio, Bobby Newt. That is his song, Hey Little Homie, that you were just listening to. And we were talking about his upbringing, which locked into a topic from hour one, sort of escaping your circumstance. Really quickly, before we jump back into your story, can you, for a second, for the audience, run down a couple of those Grammy-nominated hits, those projects that you were a part of, those little sparkly things that we all like to hear? You know, we could get into what is that Pleasure P song that you guys had? Under.
So that was crazy because I was actually working a 9 to 5, and that was when the remember when the economy crashed in 2008?
Yep.
And my homie Tank, I was working for a big company. I was actually a mortgage broker and a mortgage banker. And basically we got laid off and I didn't know what I was going to do. And he was just like, hey bro, come write these songs with me. And literally the first song we wrote was Under for Pleasure P. And it got nominated for a Grammy. It was crazy.
Song Dynasty.
Song Dynasty. 2010. So I got nominated 2010. Then Lessons in Love for TGT. Okay. And then 2012 for Chris Brown.
Chris Brown worked with C Breezy.
Yep. I just saw him the other day at the fight, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. You're out in Vegas for the fight.
Yeah, it was lit.
I'm interviewing Jamel Charlo tomorrow.
Oh, really?
Yes. We know that you like boxing. So back to your upbringing. So we mentioned you were growing up in the Bay during, late 70s, early 80s, coming into the crack era. Drugs hit the community as well as your family hard. What was the path like coming from that into getting a record deal with a major label that, like I said, I listed some of the acts that were there at that time? How does that happen?
So like I said, I started singing, old stuff like the Stylistics, the Delphonics, Blue Magic, Shalimar, with Howard Hewitt. And I would just learn songs that were my dad's favorite songs because I just wanted to make him proud. And so me and my brother, we lived in the projects, and it's called Hunters Point.
Your twin?
Yeah, me and my twin brother. And we started to Planet Rock. There was a talent show, and we started dancing first. And so it was called strutting or popping, or I don't know what y'all called it in LA.
We called it popping. Y'all
we
called it strutting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we started doing that, and we got into a talent show, and my mom told my dad, like, yo, Bob and Ronnie are going to be in this talent show. They got some talent. And he was like, obviously, he was running the streets, so he wasn't really trying to hear it like that. But he came and saw us, and that sparked everything. He saw us. Did we win? I don't know. We either won or we came in second place. I'm not sure. But either way, from that point on, he was like, oh, yeah, y'all just got to practice. Y'all going to be like the Jackson 5. And because he always had this dream of making the Jackson 5, like with my mom. And so me and Ronnie kind of kicked that off. And then we started street performing on Fisherman's Wharf, which is like a famous tourist place in San Francisco, Fisherman's Wharf. That was wild because how that happened was my dad was on probation. And so he couldn't really get out in the streets and be doing what he was doing because he was going to go to the pen. So he started pimping us.
Putting you guys to work on the wharf, right?
Yeah.
Getting out there, getting those coins.
Yeah. So that.
Do you think that it helped you as far as performing?
Big time. Because once you street perform like that, like literally, you start over every 30 minutes, and it's like an 8-hour, 9-hour shift. So you're doing. You've seen those kids that do that, and we had our little change thing out there, a little change bin, and we probably make like $300 to $500 a day.
Really?
Oh, we was killing them because Jay was out there too. So if you got a little baby out there at the time, he had to be. If I'm 10, he's like 4. If I'm 9 or 10, he's 4. So like he's out there with his little outfit on. You know what I'm saying? And he would come out the box.
You guys had a box, and he would come out of the box like the surprise
mascot.
package.
Yep. And so that kind of started it. And then I started singing. And so when I started singing, that really added something, that added something big to us. And so we just did all the talent shows all around the Bay Area. Every talent show we could get in, we got into the talent shows, and then we started going from the Bay to LA to try to get a record deal. And the first couple of times we went, they really just wanted to sign me because I was the only one that could sing. And I was like, nah, I'm not doing it without my brothers. I think CBS wanted to sign me. There's a couple different other places or labels that wanted to sign me. But we just kept going back to the drawing board. And then when we would come down, though, we would go to the Motown building on Sunset. And we would sit in Joe Jackson. Joe Jackson had an office up there. And we would sit in his office trying to get him to meet us every single time. And
just sit in the lobby waiting to
sit in his little, like the little, there was a secretary. And we would sit in like the little,
waiting area. Just like you see on TV, just waiting for him to come out, maybe give you guys a shot. Yep.
And so we did this like 3 or 4 times, and we would go by the gate to the Havenhurst house. We would just sit by the gate, like just hoping to open. And, I don't know what we was hoping, but we was hoping. And so this one particular time, we were doing our regular thing. We'd come down, go, audition for the labels, and then go to Joe Jackson's office. And this particular time, we're waiting. I mean, literally, it's like, and we would wait till it would close pretty much every time. We just wait out there, and nothing would ever happen. But this particular time, my dad was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go get y'all. We were hungry. I'm gonna go get y'all something to eat." Went to Pioneer's Chicken, and I remember like it was yesterday. And the door opened, and when the door opened, I just ran through the door. And Joe Jackson popped his head up, and he was like, "Can I help you?" And I was like, "Yeah." Like I was like, "I can dance like your son, Michael. I can sing like him." Like he was like, he looked at me and he was like, and then he was like, "Somebody come put some music on for this boy." And then they put the music on, and I went to work. When my daddy came back, we was good. Like it was.
You were locked in with Joe Jackson.
He was like, "Oh, I'm finna, you know what I'm saying? I'm finna recreate it." And not that we didn't know that he was blackballed though. We didn't know that he was over with. Like nobody was gonna
work with Joe Jackson no matter what he had.
This one he had Joe Cola. I don't know if you remember that. We did some events for Joe Cola. We did like
the soda. That's right, the soda.
That's way back.
Wow.
We did the BRE convention. We actually cut a couple records on Jackson Records. Song I had wrote called "The Day I Tasted Love." I actually wrote my first song at 9.
Look at you.
Yeah.
Little maestro.
Well, my first song at 9, and so we had cut "The Day I Tasted Love," and you know Joe kind of moved us around, put us with a couple producers, but nothing happened. We thought like, oh, we hit it, like we finna be, because at the time Michael Jackson's going nuts. Like I'm talking like this is Thriller time, like right after Thriller. You know what I mean?
So you guys were ready.
It's Michael
the
Jackson
glove,
mania.
All of that.
Oh, it's
right.
Michael Jackson mania. So we like, oh, Joe finna have us cracking. No, it wasn't to be. And so we literally went back to the Bay, still working on it. And then we did this show with a live band. And back then, boy bands wasn't performing live like that.
Mm-mm.
But we had been doing it for years at this point. Like literally, Joe Jackson had us do the world famous Roxy. Forgot to mention that.
On Sunset.
We practiced for 3 or 4 months for 13 hours a day.
What about school?
It's the most. What? Ron didn't care about no school.
So you weren't going to school, you were just practicing?
We were just practicing, absolutely. Like, and you could hear the kids playing outside. Like it was torture.
So it was like low key like the New Edition If It Isn't Love video, but kicked up a notch?
But kicked up way a notch.
But you guys were much younger.
Yeah, like I'm like, at this point I'm like, I want to say I'm 10 or 11. So Jay is about 5. We got a full band. And it's me, Jay, Ronnie, and Ron.
Ron is your other
that's
brother.
My other brother.
Your older brother.
Yes, my older brother, Ron.
Because like George Foreman, sometimes your kids have the same name.
Yeah. if you love yourself, for sure. So we do the Roxy. And my point is, I've never committed to practicing anything as much as we did that for that particular show. And it was perfect. We got 5 standing ovations. And the coolest thing was that he was so famous, Michael Jackson, that they couldn't even say that he was there. They said El DeBarge was there.
And so Michael was in the cut.
He was up top.
So what were those, because obviously, he wasn't messing with his dad in that way, but he saw you guys, he knew kind of what he was doing. What was that experience like, just getting to interact with Michael at such a young age and know that it was basically because of your talent that you're connected? You're in his house.
Yeah, no. So that's what I was getting to. He videoed our show where we got 5 standing ovations. We sang "I'll Be There," "The Greatest Love of All," "That's What Friends Are For." Like these were the songs that we were singing, and we got 5 standing ovations. And then we go upstairs because we don't know he's there. They said it was El DeBarge. I'm like, oh, okay, El DeBarge, that's cool. You know what I'm saying? We go upstairs, it's Michael Jackson. I'm talking like, so you got to imagine like, I mean, I said it in my post today. Like for me, like meeting Michael Jackson would probably be, for an artist, it's got to be the closest thing to meeting Jesus. Like if you're a saved Christian, like, you know what I'm saying? So, and even still, like after I met him, there was nothing else. You know what I mean? Like there was, the next thing is Jesus. Like that's what it was. You know what I mean? So we go up there, we meet him, we go back to our hotel, and then they're like, oh, Michael has invited you guys to the house tomorrow. We are, when I say ecstatic, like, because it all started from Motown 25. Like, That's where it started for me. I saw Motown 25. I was like, oh, that's it for me. That's what I'm gonna be doing. That's it. You know what I mean? And so we go to Havenhurst. We go to the house. The gates open. Like, remember I told you we had been waiting by the gate. So this time we go and the gate opens, and they're waiting for the Neutrons. And so we go in, and literally he's there, Bubbles is there with him, the monkey, Louis the llama, like
Louis the llama.
Yes, Louis the llama. All those things that you heard, those are real things. You know what I mean? And we go there and we're like with the monkey, with the llama, like hanging out with him. We're on the trampoline, like we're playing video games. It was just, and remember I tell you, we from the hood, so it's like we baby kids. Like we perform, but we're absolutely baby kids. Like, so
you were tearing up Michael
no, we
Jackson's
didn't tear
house.
it up, but he had a full room that was like it was like refrigerated. It was cold, and it was a candy room. Man, you can't tell no kids from Hunters Point, like, gave us a popcorn, the big popcorn dish, and was like,
go to town,
get whatever you want. What? Oh yeah, it was one of the best days of my life. Like it was, and then we went through his house, into his rooms with all the jackets, all the awards, and he was just like a big old kid. Like he was like, we were 11, it was like he was 11. You know what I'm saying? Like he was just right there with us, jumping, playing games, just.
So what, he would have been like early 20s, mid 20s?
See, today he turned what, 65?
I believe so.
I'm 49, so he was 16 years older than me. Yeah, so if I'm 11, he's about 27.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Shout out to Urban Spinster in the chat. She said she was like Bobby Newt, ! She says she knows who the Neutrons are, Jane Valentine, and she wants to know how Ronnie is doing. So we'll touch on that. We'll touch on that later, Urban Spinster. Thank you for asking about that. So let's talk about your time at MCA, because you guys signed to MCA in, what, 1989?
1989. So most people don't know the story, but the boys, who were so funny,
group,
who
the
were
boys,
our
they were on Motown.
Like we thought, like, because again, we from the streets, so we thought like, oh, that's our rivals. Like we would see them, we would pull up on them and be talking trash. Like they was like, what's wrong with these dudes? But they had left MCA with Gerald Busby and went to Motown. That's what opened up the spot for the Neutrons.
Okay.
So Lil Silas
and the boys, that's Down My Heart. I don't know if you guys remember. Okay.
Difference between the Neutrons and the boys is that their single was done by Babyface. Our single was done by Ron Newt.
So your dad did your thing, and your dad had you guys, in a classic format. You guys were the expression on your face. You guys were, kind of mimicking groups of the 70s. Like you said, you started out singing his favorite songs, so he modeled you guys in a group that kind of mimicked that. When we come forward, we will get into more of Bobby Newt's story. We will also talk about how he reclaimed himself from tragic circumstances and what he is doing today. All of that and more. You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. News and sports is up next.
Trending topics and the hottest happenings. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Esther Dillard, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network. The University of North Carolina grad student accused of killing a faculty member is being held without bond.
The suspect is facing felony charges of first-degree murder and possession of a firearm on educational property.
UNC Black Police Chief Brian James says the suspect made his first court appearance Tuesday. Monday's deadly shooting at the university triggered a campus-wide lockdown that lasted for 3 hours. The faculty member who was killed was identified as Associate Professor Gigi Yang, who also served as the accused gunman's academic advisor. Meanwhile, Hurricane Idalia is gaining strength. The advisory by the National Hurricane Center says maximum sustained winds slightly increased to 90 miles per hour, which means it will remain a Category 1 for now. And that's the latest. I'm Esther Dillard from the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Score big on sleep and savings during Mattress Firm's best sale of the year. Save up to $700 on select Tempur-Pedic adjustable beds and get a $300 instant gift, good towards pillows and more.
Gotta stay fresh, my house shot with a respite.
Have you visited us online for the grand opening of KBLA.store? For the best in new merch, gift ideas, books, media, and more, log on to KBLA.store. Be sure to check out our KBLA team favorites at KBLA.store today. That's KBLA.store for all the official merch on your favorite talk radio station, KBLA Talk 1580.
Hello, I'm Will Jimeno. I'm a retired Port Authority police detective and a 9/11 survivor. For 13 hours, I was buried under the rubble of the World Trade Center. I was rescued thanks to brave people who were willing to put their own lives on the line to save mine. For 9/11 this year, a National Day of Service, I'll be paying it forward by taking time to help others. Please join me by doing your own good deed that day. Visit 911day.org.
Wake up, people. You are optimizing every waking hour of your life. From carpooling kids, to work, to friends, and everything in between. You have to get sleep and a bed that can perform as well as you do. Meet the next generation Sleep Number Smart Bed. It effortlessly adjusts to your shape, position, and movements, learning how you sleep, so you learn to sleep better, night after night. Sleep next level, only from Sleep Number.
Don't miss our Labor Day special. Save 50% on the Sleep Number limited edition smart bed, plus free delivery when you add a base. Ends Labor Day.
Do you struggle with occasional nerve aches in your hands or feet? Try Nervive Nerve Relief from the world's #1 nerve care company. Nervive tablets contain alpha-lipoic acid to relieve nerve aches, weakness, and discomfort, plus B-complex vitamins to support healthy nerve function as you age. Live life with less nerve discomfort with Nervive Nerve Relief. Learn more at nervivehealth.com. And try Nervive Pain Relieving Cream to block nerve pain signals at the source. Use as directed.
KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 joins you in standing for education as a right, not a privilege. Charles R. Drew University of Medicine and Science is a private, non-profit, community-founded, student-centered university committed to cultivating diverse health profession leaders who are dedicated to social justice and health equity for underserved populations. CDU does this through outstanding education, clinical service, and community engagement. Recently, Charles Drew University made history by opening only the 5th medical school at an historically black university. Congratulations, South LA, and congratulations to the Dean of the medical school, Dr. Deborah Prothos-Stith. CDU is now training doctors and providing $90 million in annual economic benefit to Watts and surrounding neighborhoods. To apply for medical school, get more information, or sign your child up for the Junior Doctors Saturday School program, visit cdrewu.edu. That's cdrewu.edu. At KBLA, we are dedicated to equity in education and ending healthcare apartheid, and we don't black down. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
I have diabetes. I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
I have asthma. I'm at risk too.
If you're 19 or older with chronic conditions like asthma, diabetes, COPD, or heart disease, or are 65 or older, you are at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine, a vaccine that can help protect you against pneumococcal pneumonia in just one dose. Even if you've already been vaccinated with other pneumonia vaccines, Prevnar 20 may help provide added protection. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. Side effects include pain and swelling at the injection site, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. Curating the most compelling stories and delivering them straight to your ears. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Giving the real and the raw, yeah. Telling the truth was the hardest thing. Mom said goodbye way too early. Losing my twin was a major change. Turn to the streets for the money. Had to run up on the homie, run that chain. Could've made him pass like a relay. I didn't take a shot, I let it fade away. I'm gonna drag my problems away. I probably take that sip.
You are locked in to RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. You are listening to Where Would I Be by Bobby Newt. The song is kind of autobiographical, yeah?
It's got my testimony in it, always.
So we're going to get into your testimony in one moment. Urban Spinster in the chat said, baby, the steps in the video from My Heart Beats For You, y'all were getting it. So she remembers that. Y'all were stepping. I think that's what it was called at the time. Your fits, right? Really quickly, we're going to get into a couple of these trending topics before we get back on Bobby Newt and his journey. So I mentioned Billy Porter, and he is talking about, amongst other things, why he feels like he was essentially blackballed from R&B music back in the 90s. He says it's because of his sexuality. He said, when I got into the business in the late 80s, I was told that my queerness would be my liability. Not just in the music industry, but across the board. And it was a liability. They kicked me out of mainstream R&B. He also said that I made a name for myself, period. Not just Broadway. I won an Emmy. I'm a fashion icon. Now they need me. Winners write their history because I'm not supposed to be here looking like this. So the thing that I think is interesting is that I know a lot of people are like, that's the game. The game is the game. That's kind of how it was. But we also know that there were a lot of other artists during that time frame that probably, much like he was being told to do, because if you look at the video or the single from Billy Porter's single back in the day, I know he did a cover of the Glenn Jones song. I think it's Show Me, and some other things. He definitely was presenting as heterosexual. He had a love interest in the video that was a woman, all of those things. And I'm sure he looks at there were some other male artists that were also gay, but, you know, hiding it, forced to for whatever reason, and went on to have success. But, you know, he has a single out now. Things work out the way that they should. Andy, you have a comment. I see you.
I got more so of a question.
Okay.
Is it because he was black? Because, I mean, you had cats like Elton John popping at that time, right? And he was very open about his sexuality.
John, David Bowie, you know, there's lots of artists. But, of course, it's because he was black. Because if you think about it, from Luther, you know, people have questioned about other artists. I won't get into their names because it's not the point. But we, as a community, that's not our thing, you know, and maybe it is now, but it definitely wasn't our thing in the late 80s, late 90s to have that type of open sort of stance as far as that. He said that he understands he represents a lost generation of gay men and that he feels he needs to be a role model. He says, I'm so grateful that I've lived long enough as a gay man of a certain age. I lived through the AIDS crisis. I lost a whole generation of folks, but I know that I'm part of the generation that kicked down the door. So, you know, shout out to him. We'll see if this go round, if he can make music magic as far as his new music that he is releasing.
Can he sing?
Yeah, He won a Tony. He was like on Broadway. Yeah, you didn't know that?
No.
No, you had no idea. You just thought he was an actor.
Well,
I got you.
An actor? I don't even know that he's an actor. I just know that he's the dude that be on like those shows where they.
He's an actor.
Oh.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, he's an actor. We're gonna move around.
All right.
We're gonna move around for you.
Yeah, you go ahead. Get out of there.
For you. We're going to talk a little bit about Cardi B. And Cardi B, we have been waiting for Cardi B's second album for 5 years at this point. We know her debut album, Invasion of Privacy, dropped in April of 2018, shot her into superstardom. It had several hit singles, went 4 times platinum. But since then, we've been waiting. We've been waiting for her sophomore album. She's been featured on a lot of songs with a lot of singles, and she has blown up, a lot of shared songs, her collaborations. Cardi makes it hot. But she has said that she has made the decision that she is not going to release any more collaborations until she puts out her next solo single. She said right now she's working on the cover art and ideas for the next record because it's definitely coming. She says that she promises that her new album is top priority and that it's going to be unveiled shortly. She says, everyone always tells me I should put the record out now. They did that when I released WAP and then I released Up, but I always let them know I'm not going to wait so long in between singles. So stay tuned because it's coming out now. And speaking of that, she also talked about on one of her Instagram lives about new music. So we've been having a conversation here lately, and Bobby, you can weigh in on this, about R&B. And we know a couple of months ago there was a conversation where Diddy said R&B was dead. And there's lots of conversations about it. And one of the conversations that we've been having here is that it's the women that are really leading the charge in R&B right now. And a lot of, as far as male R&B stars, there's some, but they aren't in the forefront like they once were. And a lot of that I attribute to hip-hop and our rappers taking the place of what used to be male R&B stars, giving, men that emotional outlet, so to speak, that used to come from R&B songs, because we don't talk about love anymore. I think that's apparent in most cases. And Cardi is saying that there's lots of new music on the internet, true, and that people should just go and find it. So let's play a couple of her, a little bit of her statement.
Y'all made me famous. You know what I'm saying? Me being on Instagram made me famous. A lot of people get introduced to music on TikTok, but it's music that have more of a melody, music that have more of a hype, music that got more of a sound. So that's just the issue. Don't ever think that the music nowadays, the soulful music, the music that is about love, is not getting done. Y'all just not finding these artists. You get it? Because we don't have platforms like BET anymore. We don't have platforms like VH1 anymore. We don't have platform like MTV anymore. I mean, we still have them, but that is not the platforms that we go to now to listen, to find artists or discover artists. But if y'all want to find those type of artists, what y'all should do is go to hashtag and hashtag R&B artists, and you might find somebody. And guess what? You might make that person famous. Like me, people discover me. You know what I'm saying? People discover me. Y'all made me famous. You know what I'm saying? Me being on Instagram made me famous. Maybe you should find artists that make R&B music and make them famous and then post it on your platform so they could become bigger and bigger and bigger. And guess what? Maybe R&B will start taking over like it used to be, because right now, you know what's...
So those are Cardi's comments. Andy?
She has a point. And I think that's also the issue as well, too. I'm not about to go digging for new artists.
Right.
I'm sorry. That was the role of radio. That was the role of, MTV, VH1, BET. But, of course, their whole thing is now reality TV. But I think that's one of the issues with the music industry. I'm not going to go digging deep for new artists. I'm just saying it's too much.
If you can't get blown up on somebody's social platform, you just got to dig it out. What are your thoughts? about new music and where people find music at this point? And as an artist that you are independent at this point, putting out your own music, how do you reach people?
Well, first of all, let's start with the fact that they blurred the lines where they started, like you said, where they started making hip hop a part of R&B and meshing the two together. And when they did that, that kind of jacked up everything and pushed R&B out. And so then you had the true R&B artists, if they wanted to be heard, they started making more of a hip hop type of R&B, which now, if you really look at it, the only person that's rocking hard, because he just sounds like radio when he sings, it's Chris Brown. Like everybody else, either they feel like they're too old, so now they're urban AC. Like you can go crazy on urban AC. So if you want to find, if you really want to find R&B, that's where R&B is living right now.
Urban AC?
Urban AC, for sure.
So you have to go to different formats?
Yes, you can go to urban AC.
Oh, okay.
You can go to urban AC, but no, and it's hard. Like for independent artists, for artists, period. It seems like it's easier. I think it's harder though, because with the TikToks, with the Instagrams, with the Facebooks, anybody can put music out at this point. Where it used to be special when you put music out because it was expensive to do it. Like to go in the studio was thousands of dollars. Now anybody in any makeshift studio, in any house, in any space, if you got a microphone, an interface, and some speakers, and Pro Tools, you can make music. And so it's really, really, for me, and a lot of people can say, oh, he's it's watered down. Like it's watered down. The art is watered down. You know what I mean? Like that's why you was naming Billy Porter and all. I don't even like these people. Like I didn't even know that Cardi B didn't come out with her second album yet. But I was going to say that's actually cool for her because that means she's been on fire for 5 years. Like, that's nuts. Like, and if I'm her, like, what's the rush? Like, for me, like, because if you're hot, whatever you're doing, keep doing that. Like, if it's features or whatever it is, like, Drake been doing it for a long time. Like, they find the hottest people.
Right, but Drake puts out whole projects.
He does. But he puts out whole projects with other cats that are featured, though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So what she should have did, would have been smart, is when what's that record called? With her and Megan Thee Stallion?
WAP.
When WAP went nuts, that's when she should have dropped her second record.
Well, I think she was, but I think she got pregnant.
Oh, okay.
I think that is what happened. Andy, what were you going to say?
No, I was just going to ask for the ignorant folks out here. What is urban AC?
Urban adult contemporary.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
where do you find that, or what? You know what I'm saying?
It's actually radio stations. They're no.
Well, no. I was gonna be like, careful with radio station. Huh. We are a radio station. Urban AC.
Talk radio, but
what were you gonna say?
So it's a whole for Andy, or people that maybe don't. Are you young, Andy?
38.
No, you up there. You adult contemporary, brother. So, but it's there's mainstream, which is like, which plays, R&B, hip hop, and then there are like and you probably call them like the slow jam stations, like the Quiet Storm stations is an adult contemporary station,
which we really don't even have here in Los Angeles like that.
They don't have that, really?
Not too much anymore. I mean, there used to be like some late shows or what have you. That used to be the standard.
Yeah.
Late night after 10 o'clock, it was the Quiet Storm, the Quiet Hour. You're locked in to the Quiet Storm.
But it's crazy though, because those records still count. Like my brother and Tank, they had 2 records go number 1 on urban AC.
Slow
and When We.
Okay.
And so you still get a number 1 plaque. You still it's lit.
I saw that.
Yeah.
When we come forward, we'll have more with Bobby Newt, more on this new music, and we will get into the circumstance that led you to God. All that and more, you're locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Infusing a sense of fun and entertainment in every episode. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
More when we come forward.
1 in 4 Americans today are living with a disability. I'm one of them. People with disabilities are extremely talented, resilient problem solvers that have so much to offer. And we've got a trusted ally on our side, an organization we can rely on, Easter Seals. Easter Seals is leading the way to full equity, inclusion, and access to healthcare, employment, and education for people with disabilities, families, and communities. That's my Easter Seals. Make it yours.
Learn more and get involved at easterseals.com.
Hello, I'm Kate Levy. When I was just 10 years old, I lost my father, Joe, in the 9/11 attacks at the World Trade Center. He was a lieutenant in the New York City Fire Department. For 9/11 this year, now a National Day of Service, I'll be doing what my dad loved to do, helping others in need. Please join me by doing your own good deed that day. Visit 911day.org to learn more.
The Chase Ink Business Premier Card is made for people who make things happen, like me. I'm Sam, founder and CEO of Manifest, a product design company that makes everyday products designed smarter. I get 2.5% cash back on purchases of $5,000 or more, plus unlimited 2% cash back on all other purchases, which helps us make more smart ideas into a brilliant reality.
The Ink Business Premier Card. Learn more at chase.com/business premier. Chase for business. Make more of what's yours. Real business owner compensated for their participation. Account subject to credit approval. Restrictions and limitations apply. Cards are issued by JPMorgan Chase Bank. Any member FDIC.
KBLA Talk 1580 stands for Unity and Healing. African Focus Incorporated is a nonprofit organization based in California that focuses on the growth and well-being of Africans all around the world. Their mission is to promote the well-being of people of African descent through knowledge and appreciation of one another by building a bridge of love and understanding. African Focus Incorporated strives for cultural, educational, and economic growth. They're the organization behind the African Family Induction Ceremony, African Goodwill Awards, African Focus Trailblazer Tours, African Dance Competition, and Showcase Los Angeles, Family Day, Good News Windows Microfinance Project, and more. To volunteer, travel with African Focus, or to attend one of their community building events, please call 310-676-7730. That's 310-676-7300. Or visit africanfocus.org. This is a diaspora-wide community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Taco Bell's new grilled cheese dipping taco is, it's completely new. It's got a fresh fried white corn shell filled with cheese and new slow braised shredded beef with even more cheese grilled outside the shell. But what makes it really special is the dip. It comes with 2 sauces and you dip in one or both. Red sauce, then nacho cheese sauce, maybe more red sauce. This is a next level taco situation that'll have you acting brand new. The new grilled cheese dipping taco. Get one on the Taco Bell app today. At participating U.S. Taco Bell stores for a limited time only while supplies last. Contact store for participation which varies.
Now back to more captivating conversation on RSVP with Jill Munroe.
You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. I am joined by my guest, Grammy Award-winning, Grammy-nominated? Three-time Grammy-nominated singer-songwriter Bobby Newt. Shout out to Willie Ellis in the chat. He said, how did R&B replace soul music? Do you mean that as a genre? Do you mean the evolution from the 70s where we had what would be more considered soul music to as the music evolved and the genre spread out? Because, soul went through a period where there was disco, which, people dissected and didn't exactly love and felt it was fluff. And then, R&B was in there, but really it's hip hop that took out R&B. Not took it out, but to your point, think about New Jack Swing when we started adding it in. Remember when they would put rappers on the songs back in the day at first? They would just be some no-name guy that they would just be like, put him on there and throw out a rap. Yep. And it would just be a verse and they would have anybody do it. It wouldn't even be a featured credit. What's going on, Andy?
I hate to sound like Usher.
Okay.
But just listening to this back and forth, honestly, for real, R&B was cracking all the way until auto-tune got introduced into the game.
You gonna hit T-Pain with it? You think that is really it?
And I'm not hating on T-Pain because I rocked with T-Pain, but I just think that hip-hop artists, for example, they definitely decided to utilize auto-tune as a way to quote-unquote harmonize their records. And I think for certain R&B artists who maybe didn't have the vocal ability of a Whitney Houston or a Luther Vandross, you know what I'm saying? They felt like this was a tool that I can use to push my music.
I mean, absolutely.
Hence the hip hop kind of, coming into the R&B game.
Okay.
Well, I told you, watered down. They watered it down with auto-tune.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the Neutrons. You guys dropped in 1990. My Heart Beats For You, as was mentioned in the chat, to Urban Spinster. Shout out to Leslie Holmes. She says, "Good evening, Jill. I am really enjoying your discussion with Bobby Newt about the state of R&B music." So shout out to you. Urban Spinster, wow, she got it. She said, "Bobby made a reality show pilot a while back when his dad was still living. Is he going to revive it?"
No.
No.
So real quick, that was our reality show that we were supposed to have with Mona Scott. A lot of people don't know.
Mona Scott Young.
Mona Scott we signed a deal with VH1, and honestly, it was supposed to be a redemption show, and it turned into a nasty, love and hip hop cat fight type of show. And I'm really happy that the person who signed our show got fired, and then that show got scrapped.
So
because it wasn't what it was supposed to be.
So
God didn't want me looking crazy.
Yeah. He definitely did not. So Urban Spinster, that's your answer to that one. It was going to be on VH1 about 7 years ago, and you shot how many episodes?
We had a whole thing shot. We had a release date and everything. And
yep, it was. They were pairing it. It was going to be paired with Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, which was the most popular show on VH1 at the time, and it just didn't come through. So talk a little bit about the Neutrons came out. You guys released your first album. It didn't quite perform the way that you guys would envision, so they scrapped that plan, came back with a new look and focus for you guys, kind of an off take of what was happening with BBD at the time. You were going to be working with the same producers, but then tragedy struck. So Troy H is in the chat. She says, "The Newt story is powerful, proof of God's redeeming hand. As a foster parent and psychologist, so many need to hear their testimony. Yes, I'm a fan, but first a fan of truth, and Bobby does a great job." So
thank you so
big
much.
up to you.
Tell her I said thank you so much.
She can hear you.
Oh, okay.
We're on the radio, Bobby. All right. So really quickly, talk a little bit about the Neutrons and that period when you guys were working on your second album and what was going on then.
Yeah. So as Jill stated, the first album came out. I think it went top 20, My Heart Beats For You. But again,
on rotation, Video Soul, Soul Train, you guys were hitting all the spots.
So that's the crazy thing. I got to do all the stuff that I had ever, again, I'm from a small place. I'm not from LA. You know, LA, these are the stars of the stars. You see stars. I'm from San Francisco. It ain't like that. And so, but we did meet Michael Jackson when I was young. But we come out, we get on Soul Train, we get on what was it?
Video
Soul with Donnie Simpson. All those things were so big. I mean, I'm talking Soul Train with Don Cornelius, not the one with Shamar Moore. You know what I'm saying?
Real Soul Train.
The real Soul Train. And it was that was a dream of ours. Because, I mean, as a black kid, everybody, what day was that Soul Train came on?
Saturday, okay, 11 a.m.
Yes, you would be at your TV waiting to see, your favorite artist. And so for years we had done that. And then so for us to actually do Soul Train was huge. So anyway, so we did Soul Train. We went on a 26-city promotional tour. Was nuts. But like you said, my dad picked the single. He didn't let MCA do their job. My dad was just so y'all know, my dad was the first Gene Griffin or Suge Knight in the industry. He literally, all the label people were afraid. He was doing street stuff. He was going crazy.
When we come forward, we're going to talk a little bit more about that. We're going to get into the extended story in hour 3. And, of course, we have some interviews also coming up in that hour. We'll have more from Bobby Newt and more trending topics and headlines. You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
To the heavens with my knees on the ground. Hark to the voice, yeah, I heard that sound. I was truly lost, yeah, but now I'm found. Had to fall in love, still committed. Every single step, he was with me. Walking in faith is a vision.